on Zoom tonight, Morgan? That you're aware of?
I've not heard from anybody. Uh-oh. How's the other guy?
Waiting for tried all the non-invasive
Oh, man.
stuff, so now you'll have a replacement, I guess. Who's done it that you know of?
Me.
You had an ankle joint replacement,
Yeah, that's it.
and it's no good, huh?
I guess it depends on how you define good.
How long would you have it?
2 years.
Oh wow.
Really?
Really? Alright, welcome to work meeting. Sheldon, Amanda, are you okay with prayer today?
Sure.
Travis, do you want to do porch?
I sure can.
If Sheldon doesn't have it on her phone, or he's not here, Sheldon, that'd be great. As far as the minutes go, it seems like they were all in order when I reviewed. I didn't see anything wrong with anybody else.
No, they look just like we did it.
Of course, I wasn't here, so yeah, they look good.
All right, and then, as far as discussion, we'll give some time to, Malcolm to go over kind of the things that he found, the data that he wants to present on the oversized structures, kind of what we discussed last work meeting was looking at increasing the size of those as we seem to approve them most frequently, and didn't seem that if we increase the size on them to a reasonable amount, that would hinder anything that we did here, so give you some.
I don't have a ton to add. I'll pull up a table you guys can use for discussion. It shouldn't take long. But I think the idea was if you guys wanted to nail down a size and make a recommendation, that would be the goal. In discussions last time, it seemed like Sheldon specifically was kind of passionate, not passionate, was more interested in keeping it more like a numerical system as opposed to making it a blanket percentage. Everyone else seemed pretty okay with either. So that was the discussion, just to jog your memory. Most cities kind of around us are doing a 25% of rear yard. It would take a little more drafting of an ordinance, but we've always just done ours with sizes for each zone. So this, I help you guys' discussion a little bit. You can go for it. Here's our current for each zone. And this is 2025. I'll zoom out a little, maybe you can see them all. You see those okay?
Mm-hmm.
This is 2025, or 23 through 25. I didn't include this one, kind of an outlier, but this is your average for R1, this is your average for R2 of all CUPs that were issued. They don't include the ADU ones, just wanted to keep it kind of somewhere. Then we haven't had a R75 development yet, so there aren't any, but if we did raise them, wherever you guys think, if that's what you want to do, then we could just raise the R75 kind of proportionately. You know what I mean? And these ones really don't really have much for them, so we could keep them the same probably, but or whatever you guys think. So there's some data you guys can chat about, but otherwise, let me know if you need anything else from the staff.
So in all of 2024, there were only 10. Those were approved, or is that all applications?
Those were the
They approved them all. So
yeah, all the conditional use permits for oversized. Yep, 10 of them between. Yep, that's right.
So I went back and listened to the meeting, and I know you guys discussed a little bit about if like if we did a set number and you had, let's say you had an acre lot and maybe they had a barn and they had some other things, and then you had, you know, a 2,000 square foot building or something like that on there versus an acre lot that hardly has anything, and then you put in a, you know, they want to put in a 2,000 foot structure there, like uniformity wise, but then the impervious surface kind of saves us with that anyway. So, because at first I was kind of leaning toward the percentage one, but I don't know that it really matters as long as we have something in place on the impervious surface. I don't know that I feel there's a benefit one way or the other as far as if we just give them a blanket versus a percentage.
Yeah, I initially leaned towards the percentage, but I'm fine with if we decide to just do a square footage increase as well. I think the percentage would cover more instances. It's kind of, you can do what you can do,
Be a little more broad.
and we would still see some if we just, let's say, okay, let's double it to 4,000, and that should take out a good chunk of everything that we see on the R1 side. And if we double it, like on the R2 side, if we double it, where does that come into the 25% of, like, where do you get what I'm saying, Malcolm? Like, how big could they go on R2 and still be within 25% on their back acreage?
Maybe 5,000 square feet, wouldn't it? Unless I'm doing my math wrong. 20,000, so R2 would be a half acre, so right around 20,000 square
Yeah,
feet.
right around,
And
But it
so
has to be
25% of that would be 5,000 square feet.
But it'd have to be only
Of just
up
the backyard.
So, and then.
So are we saying, okay, so we're saying from
Well, that's how
the
the
drip
other-
edge on the back side back, that's what we're going off of on our percentage?
Cities are doing it.
So I guess that just depends. I mean, because you've got people that have set their home clear back on their property.
Yep.
So,
So they wouldn't
Yeah, I'd be-
put in as big.
They
of a
wouldn't be
structure.
able to put in as
Because
big
I'm
of a
200
structure.
feet off the road.
and who determines? Like, do we send someone out to measure ahead of time
Probably
so
me.
that, okay,
I just have to use the
going off of online?
Yeah, some mapping tools. Work with Nate. Nate would help me if I need. But
So like where you're back off the road, and let's say you wanted to do a structure in front of your house or whatever, or something.
Front, I could do it, but if I wanted to put it in the back,
But how most of these ordinances were drafted is just like the backyard, so how would we account for that to say, hey, look, well, his house is cleared out there, but he has this much.
Yeah.
As long as it meets within those setbacks from the road and things like
at
that.
first I took it kind of your same approach, Jace. And again, I don't mean to interject, so do whatever you guys want, but it was kind of hard because similar to the management, it really was case by case, right? Like here's some of the more similar. These are some of those silver saddle ones, but I'll do a measurement real quick. You made it, but this is like a typical half acre, obviously that we're kind of in approving. They're kind of case by case. Another way I thought of it, and I don't know if you guys want to think of it this way, is just. I understand where you think you don't want to give too much of a max. It's like way disproportionate, but so we would want to make sure it's not way outlandish. But my idea or thought was more just how many do we minimize by what increase, statistically speaking? Because that's kind of I think the spirit of it. So if we went to, I'm not saying we need to go to 2,000, but you could do like a little sensitivity analysis and see like, okay, if we went to 2,200 or 1,800, that would eliminate this many in theory.
I like that because then we can always revisit it later. You know, let's see if statistically, if this is what we're seeing, if we put it at 2,200 there and accordingly in the other zones, and then just kind of gauge, you know, is that adequate? Like if we're not having a lot of them that are coming in, because I think we still need to remember this is just to not require a conditional use permit. People can still ask for something bigger, and we might have a situation like, for instance, you know, there's some homes, like my parents, they have acreage, but it's over to the side of their house as well as behind. But they have like 2.25 acres. So what if they wanted to put an oversized structure that's to the side of their house, but it's not back behind and they wanted to exceed that, they could still come in and we could look at that case by case and say that makes sense to put that there. So we want to be able to give people as much flexibility as possible so they can utilize their land.
Yeah, because that's only gonna, if we increase that, that's only gonna gatekeep the exceptions, right? That's gonna.
Right.
So if we took that to 2,200 square feet on an R2, that would have eliminated 2 in 2024. That would have had to have come before.
Wait, if you took it to 2,200 square feet.
It would have eliminated all those,
Two,
right?
eliminate
Oh, wait,
one,
all but one,
two,
two.
One,
You mean
two,
all but?
in
Oh, okay, wait a
2024.
minute, 20, okay, gotcha.
Just in the 2024.
Yeah, so last year it only would have eliminated 2 people coming in.
So maybe,
3.
so what if we took it to 2,500? Is that too excessive? I mean, we approved it already
Yeah.
before.
Just to give you an idea, like this typical lot, sorry, this thing's not new, the big screen it doesn't, I'll have to show. It's like a typical half acre, in my opinion, of what we've been approving in that rear yard, it's 10,000 square feet, right?
So that'd be
10% of
closer to
that is
2,500, right around
2,500 square
2,500.
feet About, but I mean, I get this is just one example, there's a lot of homes, but.
I think
I'm
if you just
comfortable
said
with 25.
that would, I mean, it gets close to that 25% anyways, and then we handle the off case.
Yeah, I agree.
I like that.
I do
Where
too.
would you go with the R1 then?
So, take out the 30,000 one.
Yeah, I didn't count that in the,
That
It's
President
not very
Burke
average.
I don't,
That would have drove that average
yeah,
right up.
I jumped it.
indoor riding arena.
Yeah, it was a big indoor arena, once you get.
Well, and he's got more than an acre
He's
of
got
land that he put
20.
that on, so it's, I mean, we don't have anything bigger than an R1 zone. But if you did percentage wise,
So that's 43,000 for a full acre.
do you have, what, the same thing, like you just pulled up on the half acres, what we're typically seeing on
Yeah,
acre
tip-
lots as far as
typical setback.
backyard, portion?
Yeah, I can find somewhere. I haven't had a acre subdivision in a while that I'm aware of. You would probably know better than me. I haven't done one, but like there's like
You
these
can look at my house.
are probably
Check out your roof on the.
Yeah.
oh jeez.
Oh boy.
Now you did it. Go back to Joe Gizmo.
You guys keep working. I'll pull it up over here. I can't operate it.
Oh, heavens.
No, I think that same rule applies on the full acre. I don't see. Because if you look at the averages there, right, 3,600. What would that have eliminated? One so far this year
Yeah.
at 3,600. Last year, all of them would have just sailed through.
Yep. 2023, we had 1, 2, 3.
What if we said 5,000 on an acre? Just go double of what we're doing on the half acre.
That is huge.
It is, but we,
The
I mean-
cost is gonna that cost is gonna put it.
Yeah, that's gonna.
Yeah.
But
If the idea is that we're trying to eliminate, we're already approving them anyway, it's just,
Yeah.
why are we going through the motions if we're gonna approve it anyway?
Yeah.
What does it matter? I have a question though, when you said, what, if like Blake's house sets back, what determines the backyard?
usually I think because like with our ADUs, they have to be behind the drip edge on the back of the property. Like they can't be in front of that.
Okay, but if you have 10 acres, but you're set back 500 feet, your backyard starts at the drip edge,
At the back drip edge.
At the back,
furthest back
yeah.
drip
right?
edge, yeah.
So
So-
then it doesn't apply.
But then maybe they could come in and get a conditional use permit if it doesn't
Oh,
make
why
sense
not?
for their property.
Malcolm.
If they're
Yeah,
they're set so far
7,100.
back.
I'm just wondering what we're
5,200,
saying.
No, it's
is
good.
the
Yeah, 'cause how are you
backyard.
gonna shove a
So
My
5,000
there's
house,
square
my
foot?
house sets back as well, I moved it back
Yeah.
as well.
You got, how much you got? Just an acre?
Two.
2? How big's your shop?
That's only 12.
1,200?
In my opinion,
Well, you can go to 5 if you want.
So I can stack more garbage in
Yeah,
there.
get more stuff, right?
I'm not aware of any subdivisions that are 1 acre that are, these were all .93, these lots.
That's close enough, I think. So we're
What
saying
was-
around 23,000.
What was
the
Bob
backyard.
Edwards off of 55 here? Was his an acre or half?
Probably half, I
I
think.
think those are halves over there.
Over
Pretty
here.
sure of that. What's your address, Blake?
5247 south, 7100 west. That right there. So see my back, if you blow that up,
You centered more than a lot.
see what do I got in the back there then?
I don't know if you're the shop you want, sorry.
Well, I've got a shop right
Off to
there,
the side.
but I got 2-foot-itis. It's
Morgan, do our oversized structures have to be contained in the rear
It's only
yard?
24 by 36.
The oversized house still just be in line with the front of the house.
Has to be behind the front
Some
facade.
creep into your side yard. Get that included too.
I don't think we
But
touched anything.
what do I have backyard wise?
I'm working on it. It doesn't work.
I think the purpose of having them sit behind the house is
Not to take away from the home.
like, yeah, that way it's not looking like there's 7,000 homes on one road.
So what about if an oversized structure includes an ADU? Does that still,
That'll sit behind
that has to
there.
sit behind? Okay.
And will count towards
Because
that square
most
footage.
ADUs will have that big shop off to the side of it. I don't think we've had
Did I
very many
get
that
turned around on
have.
Just
your house?
freestanding, yeah.
Did I get turned around on your house? Like, sorry. Is this it?
No,
The one above it.
one above it. But you can do mud rows if you want.
They won't mind.
Well, maybe 5,000 is too big if those were out, the ones you pulled up
5,000 's a
before were
big shop. I think,
2,300.
That Public Works one.
Or
that new one
23,000.
Right here is 5,000. It's pretty big.
Yeah, the red.
Well, yeah, in the last couple of years, we've only
Yeah,
had.
that's huge. That's
But if the
2
purpose
by
is to eliminate what we're doing, that's what we're doing, isn't it? Well, if we're trying to eliminate it, let's eliminate it.
Yeah.
I just think an acre is a pretty big piece of land, and if you want to have a 5,000 square foot shop,
If you want to fill
and we're
up your
letting a
backyard.
2,500 one go into a half acre, to
Yeah.
me it makes sense that we would let a 5,000 square foot go onto an acre
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
I don't see the problem really, but
Well, as long as, the only concern would be with the setback.
27,000 square feet, so you could have gotten, about 5,000, a little over 5,000. I
I'm
do
gonna
think,
add on.
I don't know, there's always the thought, right, if an R1, as long as you went above, if you went to like 4,000, you'd still eliminate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Almost all of them,
You
when
would
you
have
look at the
eliminated
sizes.
10 out of,
if you went to 4,000, is that what you said?
yeah, you would have eliminated quite a few.
And we can always revisit it. I mean, if you guys are more comfortable with 4,000,
I like 5,000.
Yeah, I'd double it. We
I don't think
doubled
there's
the We doubled the R2, this is double the R1.
that's my feelings too.
Like you said, my only other thought there is these other cities go 25%, right? And it's kind of like a mini, maybe impervious surface requirement because they can't go bigger. You would have the potential that someone, other than our impervious surface protects, you'd have the potential that someone could do a 5,000 square foot shop, and then I don't really know of any ordinance that would prevent them from coming back in for another 5,000 square foot shop.
But we
Other
have
than
the
if they
impervious.
got over 65% impervious surface, that's quite a bit. I
Yeah.
don't think I've ever seen anyone
Yeah.
I don't know anybody
And
that can
and
afford
honestly,
to
if it
call.
doesn't go over
Like I
that,
think the pool one over there was like 55% impervious surface. You can see it's covered quite a bit.
I don't know. I don't see, even if somebody wants to do that, if they put in a 5,000 square foot shop and they're on an acre and they want to put in something else,
And to your
you know,
point, to be fair,
it's
most
their
of
land.
most of our R1, a lot of them really aren't 1 acre. A lot of them are
They're
1.5,
just-
they're
yeah.
2.5, they're 3. So a lot of these guys will be coming in wanting that 5,000 put on a 3 acre
Right.
piece of ground.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing with a lot of those that came in with those bigger ones, they were on bigger lots, I think, than just an acre.
Well,
So,
could we word it that way, that like 5,000, as long as it doesn't go over a certain percentage of that backyard?
Impervious surface.
Just to protect, I mean, if you've got that setback, I mean,
I think the impervious surface,
Then you gotta define what's the backyard.
yeah, well, from that, yeah.
If you put it at 5,000 and they still gotta come in for a permit,
over 5,000 they'd have to, oh, you mean a building permit?
yeah.
They still gotta get a building permit. They wouldn't go to
So,
you guys.
right then again, you can look at it and say, you know what, dude, you're
Over your impervious.
over your impervious.
Nate always checks for impervious
So,
surface. So
I
they
think
never would go over 65% impervious surface.
I think we've
we're
got the
covered.
safeguards
We're not
in
conflicting
place.
because
Well, and like Jace mentioned, there are market realities, and that's that not a lot of people, 5,000 square feet is a really big
Yeah.
building. So
Yeah.
there's
So
a handful
awesome.
of people, but a lot won't build. I mean, you saw our averages, I think that
if we start
How
having a
big
ton of them
did,
come in, we can change it if it's a problem, but I don't think it will be.
Oh, he did it on the side, never mind. Minderick?
So
Yeah.
Casey?
5,000, 2,500, and what's your 3/4 acre? Then I don't have good data or anything for that one, but you might, there's some
3,000.
seem reasonable.
Sounds good to me.
That's,
It seems
pretty good
it's
split.
conservative, and I think that'll be more residential lots. They'll be actually new subdivision. You know what I mean? So
Isn't the MK3 3/4 acre?
Yeah.
That would tag that one.
sure.
do we need to look
So-
at third acre at all? There's still people out there with that. Would
There
have
are,
we
but I
actually
didn't
even
see
looked
it.
at anything?
I don't see it as a problem. I didn't see anything over the last 3 years of any of them coming in for anything more than what they have.
Yeah.
I don't think they're.
I don't think they've got enough lot to really
Want to
do
that.
much. And, if we start seeing a lot come in, then we can change it. I
How do
was,
you want the way this would look then, Morgan? I just put this in. We could change the table into the actual ordinance, bring it to these guys and make or whenever they want to do it, either tonight or the next meeting, you guys can make a recommendation, then we'll take it up to city council.
Do you wanna make a recommendation off of, to catch the outlier of like, or do you wanna see all those ones that are like, have the space in front of their houses like Blake's? Like, do we wanna address that right now, or do we just wanna address like the size of the structures and still see those kind of one-off ones where they're
In the
put it in
front.
So-
their front?
we're not, am I, maybe
We're
I'm
just
misunderstanding.
making a
We're not
suggestion.
specifying that it has to be in the backyard, are we? Like, because we're not doing a percentage, we're just doing a
Yeah, they
blanket
could be in
number.
the side
So
yard
it
as
could be
long
the
as they
side,
met
it could be anywhere, the way that
setbacks.
we
And
have it
wasn't
right now.
It wasn't an ADU, they can put it in the side of their house if they met all the other requirements.
Sure.
So, if it's okay, I wanted to just, since we're talking about this and we get a lot of these that have ADUs in them, I just kind of wanted to talk about if we, right now, our ADUs are capped at 960 square feet. And that's if they're detached,
Yeah.
but I've always thought it was interesting just because, if somebody wants to put one in their basement, we don't put a cap on that. It's however big their basement is. And in these structures where it's included in the structure, I'm just wondering if we don't want to maybe look at the idea of increasing the amount of size that they can put in for that ADU. Part of the reasoning behind that, the economy is so bad right now, and I think a lot of people are having a hard time getting into a house, and 960 square feet, if you have more than one kid, it's not giving you a lot of room. And so I'm just wondering if, let's say, for example, what if we said, well, it can't be more than 50% of what that oversized structure is, or of the primary dwelling, whichever is less, if we wanted to make sure it doesn't go out of control or something.
So, okay, keep going.
So then we open that up to more families being able to get into their own separate living. A lot of times kids want to come back and live with mom and dad, and that would let them do that. And, we have our moderate income strategies that we have to hit every year, and one of them has to do with ADUs, and we're going to have to turn in a report in August. So by revisiting that and saying, hey, we increased our square footage on the amount of the ADUs in these internal structures, like on these oversized structures, to try to accommodate more families that aren't being able to find housing because of how bad the economy is right now. I think we might be able to tick that box on the moderate income housing, provide more of an opportunity for people that need a little bit more room.
So,
And it's not going to change the footprint of anything because that structure is going in anyways.
you said 50%, right?
That's just a number.
I know.
We could
Well,
talk about it, but
with thinking of that, so now we push the R1 to 5,000 square feet. So somebody can come in and do an ADU for 2,500 square feet.
if it's
which is
contained within that
a pretty
500.
nice house, where now more people can afford to build a 5,000 square foot outbuilding because their kids are going to
Rent
participate in half of it. You know what I mean? So have we created another problem by saying 50%? I agree, it needs to be bigger.
Well, maybe not 50%,
Yeah.
but it could be. Really, what's the difference? If somebody's going to put in a 5,000 square foot oversized structure,
Do we really care?
and are we really going to go out and police what they're doing in that structure? To a point.
I think just like gut checking. I've seen other cities, and we're maybe just a little low, but I think the biggest one I saw was maybe 13 or something hundred.
Yeah.
But I do think I completely agree. But from a staff perspective, I think it would help with moderate income housing because we have that. And I think the way that Hooper's growing, like you guys are promoting big lots, obviously.
Yeah.
be one of the few moderate income housing strategies that apply as well, because we have the space to do
Yeah.
pretty good sized
Why was
ADUs.
it set at 960? What, was anybody here?
I wasn't here for
I
that.
wasn't here.
It just seems so small, and I know a few
Yeah.
people that have built them, and I mean, it's cute, they have but most people, it's either just them, or they have like one child, but for people that have more than one kid, I think it would open that up a little bit.
Do we care if it's just smaller than the square footage of the house that it stands
I,
on?
well, that was gonna be my question. I don't even know if that matters, honestly, because if I live in a little house, but I've got a big lot and I build a McMansion shed behind it, right? I wanna move into that and let my kids live in the little house up front. I might want a little bit bigger house,
And we
I
changed
don't-
our ordinance to allow for that. You could, the property owner can occupy
Yeah.
either one. It used to be you had to
Yeah,
occupy
but
the
I want
primary
my,
residence.
I want the one I'm moving into
Yeah.
in the ADU bigger than what I'm moving out of.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I wouldn't see, I can't see a downside to having it bigger than the actual little house out front.
Mhm.
Because that's only gonna apply in a couple of cases, I would think. Most people are,
Yeah, I was leaning more to just like, if it fits the requirements of an ADU, why do we care? And
yeah.
they have the space, like, why do we care? What is back there?
No, I think that opens up a lot of opportunity for people. Because
Yeah.
960 is small.
It is
The
small.
only thing we would need to visit would be,
The
Impact
sewer
fees.
impact, or how does that
because
work?
I think right now, like, you know, as long as they tie into the same line, I don't think they pay any. Does that sound right? I think that's how I've understood it.
Yeah, Jared has a bunch of different scenarios, and we're kind of looking into that as we're looking at the fee schedule too, because we're trying to
I'm pretty
make
sure
that
that,
more today's time.
I'm pretty sure they've allowed them to tie in and not
Have
pay
a
an
separate-
additional impact, but I think
That's
the
a
idea
strategy
behind that
too.
is
Yeah,
you're only, I mean, at 900 square foot ADUs,
Yeah.
you're only gonna get one bathroom, so
Yeah.
I think the idea's been
If you're
not
gonna
a
do
ton of impact.
2,500, you're
But
gonna
yeah,
have
if you
two
did
bathrooms.
a 25 or a 3,000 or 4,000 square foot ADU, they might have 2 or 3 baths, so they might
Well-
need to consider an impact fee for certain. I don't know.
I think we probably should be charging an impact fee. It's another dwelling. I mean, the city's got to pay for that. I think I would rather see us be a little bit more flexible with what the homeowner's able to do and build on their own property. But we still have to make sure the city's covered, you know, if
Most of
that's
your
the impact on
R1s.
us, we should be charging for it. If it's going to impact, because I know you can only charge impact fees on what they actually impact. But if that's having an impact on our infrastructure, we need to be charging that if we're not. I know that's one of the strategies for the moderate income housing. You can agree not to charge impact fees on ADUs, and that will tick one of those boxes, but that's not one of our strategies right now, so
Well, it might be for
maybe.
just because it already
Maybe,
happened. Well,
but-
no, not officially, just because it already happened.
What
It's
are,
an easy strategy.
what
Yeah, don't do
are,
that.
but are they still paying, if you've got an ADU in the back, obviously you're paying more in power because you pay by use. You're paying by garbage can because you pay by garbage can. But what about water? Do they get charged to double hook up for water?
No, they're just tying into it and
It's not separate utilities.
It's
It
not
shouldn't be a separate.
So let me, I live in I think everybody knows where I live. My house is above average size. I have 6 bathrooms. We have 2 people that live there. Do we impact it more than the family across the street that's got 6 people?
No.
And their house is less than half the size of mine that's got 2 bathrooms?
I don't know that they gauge. I think the impact fee is the same for anybody
When
that hooks
I
into it.
I built a detached garage and we have a pool house in there and I have a full bath in that garage. No one lives there. So I have a full bath. I didn't pay a separate hookup for the sewer or the water for that detached garage because it's all together.
Yeah.
Runs together. You know, but everything else, I mean, the gas, the water, the electricity,
That's all
is a
metered.
Well, and I think that's the
Yeah.
logic the city's taken. If they're together, and I don't know the technicality, you have to ask Jared or Darren, but if they're together, we haven't charged. But if they wanted a separate connection, I don't know literally how that works, then there would be an impact, was the
Yeah.
idea.
Well, and maybe if it's not a separate connection that they require, then I guess I can see
Would be
the
huge.
logic
It'd
in
be
that.
another
But
water meter as well.
if you have a whole other family living in a completely separate dwelling, then if they have to have a separate connection that they bring in, then I can see why we would need to charge an impact fee. If it's all considered the same thing, then it makes sense that we're not charging it, I guess.
You'd have to tear up the front yard and put a new water meter and run a separate line.
So do we just let you guys handle that as you've been handling that? How they've been determining that, or
What do you mean on the
on
ADUs?
connection fees?
Oh.
Let me go get it solidified, what's happening, is it 100%, and make sure I understand when they're charging one, and I can let you know.
I'm just wondering if we're gonna send up a recommendation to the city council and you guys are gonna prepare this for us to vote on, if we wanna maybe revisit that about the ADUs and the square footage that we allow, so that we can send it up to the council all at once. And,
Yeah.
you know, and they can
I think
change it,
we
they
should
can
increase
approve
it.
part of it and take out part, but at least we can tell them what the commission thinks.
I think it needs to be, I think it needs to go up.
Yeah.
Let's be realistic. If somebody has one of those and they're calling it ADU, you're telling me that somebody's not using the rest of it if they want to as a bedroom, whatever, already? Come on.
Well,
We know
if
what's
the
going on.
ADU's smaller than the motorhome parked in the rest of the barn next to it, right?
We know what's
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it opens up a lot of avenues for people.
Well, and it'll open up legal avenues, and again, we can use it towards our moderate income housing strategy, which we need to show that we're doing something to
Yep.
progress with those strategies. So I just feel like it would maybe open the door for people that need it, and it gives more flexibility to the property owner.
So are we okay to add that to the motion today?
I'm
Just
okay
say-
with it.
Amanda, something's wrong. We agree twice. What's going on?
I don't know, there must be something
I
happening.
like
So do you wanna go up to what side, I guess what, to prepare the the motion? what size?
1920 for an ADU. That's double
Where'd you
what
get that?
it is now.
Oh, where did that come from?
It's just double what it is now.
Well,
you
or
just
do we
wanna
want to
just
do
do
a
half of the-
percentage? Because I think we
Or a
don't want to have
percentage.
people come out and say, oh, I'm building an oversized structure, but it's really, I'm just putting in another house back here. Like, the other thing I think we need to be careful about, I don't think we necessarily want people to be putting in multiple ADUs back there that, I don't think we have anything in our ordinance right now controlling
I can't
that,
have
that
two
says you
oversized
can't,
structures
No.
on my 2 acres.
well,
We
That's
can't
what
have
I'm
more than
oversized
one-
structures is one thing, but ADUs,
You can only have one?
you can only have one. No, we have
There's nothing
nothing
in
saying,
our-
we need to, I
And no
think.
one's ever came for two, but we won't have anything that we would say, no, you guys would just have to not grant
Yeah,
a condition.
and I mean, that's a way to
And
get
then we would
around-
Put an ordinance to say we only want one ADU
Yeah.
per lot or something.
I think while we're looking at this, we maybe want to put some stipulations in place,
Yeah.
because you don't want to end up with a situation where you've got somebody putting out these multiple little rentals back there. I don't think that's what we want either, so.
So increase the ADU sizes up to 50% of the oversized structure size.
Do you think 50% is good?
Generous.
I mean, we can always revisit it, right? Like, and we're erring on the
Me-
side of, it's always hard to take back than to grant more, but.
I guess on one side, I'm like, well, gosh, what if we have that 30,000 thing? Do we want a 15,000 ADU?
I do.
But why do we care on one
Yeah,
side?
I
Because
don't think it matters.
we don't know, like you said, what's going on inside of there
If he
anyway.
wanted to do that, he would do it right now.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, well, and we had, I think, was it Gaddis that came in? And, like, this is another thing. We're kind of in this little box because he could only go so many square feet. And then his utilities. Do you remember he was going to have his utilities in the garage part of the.
Oh, yeah.
And we were like, oh, you can't do that, or you're going to exceed your square footage, or
Yeah.
whatever the argument was. And that's ridiculous. You know, I think that if we open it up a little bit, people are going to be able to put in there what they need and not have it be too big.
But if we increase the size of the ADUs and oversized structures, what does that do for a freestanding ADU? If somebody wants to build a freestanding ADU, does that mean I can now put a 2,500 square foot ADU behind my? I mean, yeah,
Have the space.
Well-
no, I'm with you, but I think we
This
need
got
to
brought up
clarify that.
before, and it went up to city council because the idea was if you had an acre lot, you should be able to go higher than 960 because you have a bigger lot. And at the time, I mean, the council was divided, but they shot it down. And so I personally, especially if you have an acre lot, I don't think it's bad to allow for a little bit larger ADU for the same reason that we're talking about. I think the one concern is we're using this as a moderate income housing strategy, and if you start getting massive units back there, it's not going to necessarily fall into something that would qualify for moderate income if they're using it as a rental or something like that. And so I think that was part of the council's concern. They didn't want it to be too big. But like if we went it to 1,200 square feet or something on a acre lot, I don't know.
Well, I agree with you that we may want to use this as a part of moderate income, but that's not my sole purpose. I want to give people options.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
if it meets it, great. If it's bigger, it's my property. You know, if I want to put that back there and rent it out or move into it, I don't think Hooper needing to meet a moderate housing thing
You should
should.
dictate the size of
Yeah.
house you want to
Yeah.
exchange.
So I mean, I think it would be great if it met that, and I think most of them probably would. But if I want to build something a little bigger back there, I should be able to build something a little
I
bigger.
agree with you to a point,
Sure.
Travis. My concern is what Amanda's saying. If I own 50 acres and I decide I'm going to put 20 ADUs in.
No, I'm with you. I think there should one. I think you should be
so we
limited
need
to
limit
one.
Or
Yeah, I don't. We definitely don't want it to turn into, hey, you just put townhouses in your backyard,
and then
right?
somebody's going to go around the
the ordinance.
ordinances that we have in place, and I'm going to put 10 little ADUs on my 20 acres or whatever size I have. Whatever
Yeah.
that is.
No, I agree. That's a great
This
point. I think we should limit it to
recommendation
how many ADUs you can have, but the size of it.
So what
That's a
if we
great point.
say we want to go ahead and increase the square footage on the oversized structures and then allow, did you want to do double on the size of the ADU portion in those structures of the oversized? Or take it up to 50%?
I'd say 50%.
I like the 50% number.
Okay.
You're getting that.
Do we want to say 50% up to a certain point, or do we care if somebody puts a
We don't-
30,000
Well, that's
square
gonna
foot
limit
thing and half of it's a,
I don't.
I don't think we care, cause as
Okay.
soon as their final inspection's done,
They're moving
gonna
in
go do
it.
something else
Okay.
anyway, so why dictate what they can do with us?
But
Yeah, so
we need
in
something in there
practice-
about one
In
per,
practice, that would be,
lot.
yeah, one per lot, and then that would be 2,500 on 1 acres, 1,500 on 3/4, and 1,250 on halves.
so
Right.
I just want to write this down.
That's-
25
yeah, that's
acres.
giving them 300 more square.
2,500 on full acre.
Now, wait
Well,
a
I
minute.
mean, and
Are you
that's-
talking about detached
and
ADUs right now, or what are we
1250
talking about,
Well,
the
that would
numbers you just read?
That would be 50% of what you guys are increasing the size of.
Oversized.
Contained within, okay.
That's assuming, I mean, other people are, these are gonna catch most of them, as you saw, those increases, but if someone came in and you guys haven't had a history of denying 6,000 or 7,000, so they'd still probably get 25%, it'd be a little bigger
Yeah.
than that.
I think we'll see a drastic increase in our ADUs if we do this, which I think is good. That means we're helping people get into houses.
Yeah, but I don't think they'll be the huge ones though. 'cause
Do you
I don't
think
know.
1250 is
Homes.
enough on a half acre? I guess, I'm just trying to visualize what that looks like.
I think 1250, I mean, do you
Pretty
think
good
about,
size.
that's pretty good size. I think you could get,
Another 300 square feet, that's two more
Yeah.
bedrooms.
yeah, well, maybe one more bedroom.
Whoa.
Well, 10 by 13.
I guess it depends on how big you want your bedroom, but
We're not getting all 6 of Jean's bathrooms.
yeah, no, I'm not gonna have that. I don't know, how many bathrooms do I have? I don't know, maybe I do
I
have.
got 4.5 in my house.
Yeah.
There's 3 of us there.
One. I
And,
have
they,
4.
and there's ways to get around that too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, and we can always revisit this. Maybe we
With
could
that-
start at
With
1200.
that, while we're at this real quick, R3 and R4, if we make it 25% of their shop, they wouldn't really be able to do ADUs.
I don't see anybody in the R3 and R4 doing an ADU anyway. Those, I
You
mean,
could-
even if you put
yeah,
a
I'm in up
960
there
square
right
foot
there.
home,
There's no way you
that's
could put anything
squashed.
back there.
I don't think we would see it in those. But I think we could, and maybe we
can
need
look
to
at
put
'em
something in.
On a
Yeah,
case by case basis. I mean, if somebody really wants to throw a ADU on an R3,
I just don't see that happening. I think that would be a
I
nightmare.
guess what I'm
Living in a
saying
tough
is, by the way
Yeah.
you guys are doing it, you would kind of be practically not permitting ADUs on.
Maybe we put that in there that we don't do ADUs on R3 and R4. And again, we can always revisit if there's somebody that comes in and we find out, maybe it's something we're not considering.
Or we can stipulate those have to be done through conditional use
Mhm.
on R3 and R4. Where would you put that on?
I have a hard time. How would you fit that on there? I just don't see how it would. It seems like it would be really squished, especially
you
in an
do
R4.
450 square feet up upstairs and the downstairs.
Well, and that's the thing, we're talking about the maximum amount that they're building.
You just go buy a
Those little
container.
tiny homes, those are super tiny, so maybe they put a tiny home out there and they call it
Yeah.
an
Well,
ADU. It
and that's
doesn't
to
have to
Gene's
be
point,
the
that's why I think
maximum.
we have to limit how many you can put on
Yeah.
there, 'cause I could see somebody ordering 10 of those tiny homes
Yep,
and
I agree,
having a village in their
yeah.
yard.
Stack
If
it.
it becomes a problem, we could look at maybe raising R3 and R4 shop sizes, or their structure sizes, and then they'd have a bigger percentage. But
Mhm. So, will you just read back what you have, so I,
yeah,
Sure, we're all on the same page.
recommendation would be increase R1 to 5,000, oversized structures maximum to 5,000, R75 oversized structure maximum to 3,000, half or 0.5, or R2, sorry, oversized structures to 2,500, 1 ADU allowed per lot or whatever the term will be, property resident.
Parcel.
Parcel. We'll get it from our attorney, but 1 ADU per, owner, and then the ADU can be 50% of the structure, of the accessory structure, whether it's oversized or not.
And so does that, we're not touching the 950 currently?
the 960, as far as the detached ones,
Yeah.
do we wanna bump that up on an acre lot, maybe to like 1,200? For a starting point?
I think it should match.
Yeah, I think you should just mirror this, like if they're just gonna do a detached and they have an acre, they should be able to do like, well, you can do a 5,000 square foot building, you should be able to do a 2,500.
Well, but if we're saying, and I might be not understanding, but if we're doing 50% of what the oversized structure is, and we don't have an oversized structure to say that's 50% of that, then what are we matching it
So
to?
that means on a full acre, they can go up to 2,500 square feet, which would be the full max of an oversized
Oh, of
structure.
the oversized
That's what I was-
structure.
Yeah, and
If they
then
did it,
And then they could do
1,500 on a R75.
So we're saying they could build a
12,
5,000 square foot house back there as an ADU on an acre?
2,500.
50% of the,
so the
Oh,
maximum.
50%.
the maximum.
Yeah.
So
I knew
you-
I'd catch up eventually. Okay,
So I'm just saying mirror the
gotcha,
same,
Fractions
gotcha.
are hard.
if you do an oversized,
My brain's not,
yeah,
It's okay.
okay, so detached
or else they're just gonna call their ADU an oversized structure.
Yeah.
ADUs. Okay, well, that's what I was
Put a little
confused.
barnwood on the outside of it.
So 2,500 in R1, 1,500 in R2, or no, R75, sorry.
R75 would be 1,500.
And then,
R2
1250
would be 1,250.
in R2. Cool.
Okay. Maybe we'll put something together, whatever you want to do. We can put something together that get it all written and have it maybe take a quick look at it, and then we could bring it to you if you want.
Yeah, I think next meeting that'd be great.
Have you heard from Sheldon at all? Is he coming tonight, or?
I haven't heard from Sheldon.
I have not either.
I really like that.
I think
I
it's,
think it fits Hooper's profile really well. These have big lots and people are building.
Well, and I
Huge
actually like that
shops
we might be a little bigger on our ADUs than some of the other cities.
I think
So
it fits you
we
guys
don't
well.
have to
It's cool
always be
'cause
smaller.
Generally, ADUs are really nice because whether you guys have the requirement that the owner live in one or the other, it's almost implied or inherent. Like, not a lot of people want to live with some near, like, I don't know, with somebody
that's
they don't know.
what's
pretty
nice
well.
about
It's
it.
gonna be
So it really controls, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
People who are gonna own the resident, or you see, are gonna be pretty
Picky,
responsible for who's there, and it'll make for nice move-ins.
that's why we put that stipulation that the property owner has to live in one of the two.
Yeah, I
So
like
that
that.
there's not like a offsite landlord and then you run into the problems you get with that sometimes, so.
I know there's been a talk with Ryan and the mailing situation, so I don't know.
That's one of the things, because when you guys were talking about flag lots in the last meeting, and I know the postal service was like an issue assigning those addresses, but when we have an ADU, they have to have a separate address too, so what are we doing with those? Like, we're making it work somehow. Did you talk to Ryan?
A or B
I've
or
emailed them back.
Okay.
Yeah, and the idea, me and talking with Jace was, it felt like we kinda got a lot going in our pipeline at once, so let's get this one wrapped up, and we'll bring flag lots. Like, I think the flag lots is another interesting one for Hooper. We have a lot of lots that fit it, and it could be a good
Especially for
moderate
the-
income housing strategy type thing, but
And the use case scenario that displace that person that has lived here for a long time because he can't build a flag lot, and I don't know, it just
Well, what you guys just did actually is we put this in practice might,
solved that.
yeah, it might solve some of the flag lot issues, because in some ways you're almost permitting, not really, but.
Well, because in these instances, we're not subdividing that parcel. The property owner owns everything. For a flag lot, you've got to deal with that shared driveway sometimes and some of the issues that come with that. And I know that you guys talked about, I think you talked about, or it might have been the research I was doing, but like emergency vehicles and not being able to get back there. But, you know, if you look over like where Denny's put in their home, that's set clear back off the road. And so any emergency vehicle would have to still drive down that driveway to get there. I don't know, I'm just,
Only other thing I've seen other cities do, and maybe I'll look into it a little and bring it up, but I think other cities require some additional parking with their ADUs. If you're gonna up the size, you might wanna have some additional parking for the ADU so that you don't get a lot of street parking.
yeah.
That could be a result of a two-family deal on one lot.
Well, and that is probably something we should put in place,
But
because
you
like during the
can-
winter,
but-
you can't park on the
But we
street.
kinda, with the owner has to live in one or the other. Like you said, it's gonna be family, so the argument about the shared driveway and complaining, they're just complaining to their own mom and dad or whoever, you know what I mean? I don't think that's gonna be a big,
Not for an ADU, but for a flag lot it could be, because if those are
Flag
separate
lot,
parcels, somebody could leave and then that can be sold and you might not like your neighbor anymore.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I think
you're
it's a
right. I
good,
think if the property owner is gonna extend it to someone and know they're gonna live there, gonna think about the parking
Yeah.
and accommodate with them one way or the other. They're gonna say, hey, we're gonna put some parking here, I'm not sure, or vice versa, or you can
Yeah.
use some of ours, so.
Well, and I know that's like, and I know we've got that one gentleman that came in last time and was talking about that. I reached out to Jeff Reed over in West Haven and was asking him about theirs. He's on their planning commission. He's like in 2.5 years, they've seen one. And it got denied because there was something with the width of the road down the side.
was
of
the flag lot you're talking
With a
about?
flag lot. They've only had one come up in West Haven in 2.5 years. So I don't know how many of those we'd have here. But yeah, we'd probably still gonna have something in place, right?
And most cities' ordinances are the ones that you sent across, Malcolm. This wasn't a way to get around like developing the parcel. It was pretty clear on, like it wasn't trying to get around zoning or rezoning of the parcel. It was just like,
Infill only,
yeah.
yeah,
So
like existing flag lot situations that were undevelopable otherwise. Couldn't really develop flag lots, it was just if it was, stuck.
Well, and I think you guys talked about the fact that the way our ordinances are now, we shouldn't be approving any subdivisions where in the future, that's the only option we're allowing people, because they can't get back, they're landlocked otherwise. And so hopefully we wouldn't have things going forward other than what's already in existence and has been put into that situation, so.
yeah, I would just see like if you had a bigger parcel piece and eventually as things get developed more, it comes a time that like, oh, I want to put a flag, like as things, that's what I see in South Jordan where my in-laws live and things like that. It's like there's a lot of those flag lots where before it was a bigger parcel. And now it's kind of, it kind of just
Whittled.
gets
Yeah.
whittled down, so I think that's kind of the use I see for those.
Yeah, we'll get that put together for the ADUs.
Great. And then on the policy and procedures, anybody have any more?
I had a couple more suggestions, just minor things that I noticed as I was going through it again. Let's see, I thought I printed it off.
While you're looking, a couple things that come to my mind. The people that got up and spoke last meeting, I don't know if they assume that we are a legal authority. We can't grant anybody access to somebody else's ground. We can't tell you what they can do with their ground. I would think that we would have to post our policies and procedures here, and maybe before we start the meeting, we say, we're not the legal entity. If you need legal advice, you need to give an attorney. We don't provide you legal advice. So you know what went on. And then the time, there was a couple of people.
Is our
that
meeting being
way
streamed?
long.
I
It
just had
wasn't
somebody
stopped.
text me and say it's not, they can't find it.
yeah.
I know, when does the time start? like the 3 minutes.
When somebody's
When
up
somebody's
speaking.
on public comment.
Typically after, well, I try to do it when they say their name, but sometimes it's after they say their address, like, well, I just write their name out so I can get that.
So after they state
So
their name,
typically after their name.
Good. And I think, I don't know what happened. To me, it got totally out of hand.
What was
With
this?
a couple of people, it's like, this isn't why we're here. And
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of issues they were bringing before that we had no jurisdiction.
That happens a lot.
Yeah.
So I think stating that though, Gene, is just like, we are just, we have no legal authority, we're just applying, we're just.
And maybe state this as well. It says on citizen comments, says no action can or will be taken on any issue that's presented. We need to understand that before we start, because I think they think they're saying something and we're
we're
gonna
gonna vote
Well,
on it.
yeah, that's on there. That's on the agenda.
I know,
I
but
can say it.
just remind them.
do people know? I mean, to me, they think we're gonna solve something that
We have
no authority to solve.
Yeah, agreed. I can do better at that.
I wish I'd have been here because we had that situation with the easement for watering on my son's land with Travis Truman. He was adamant that he was putting a fence on that road. And it's like, no, that road's been there for 30 years. He finally signed a boundary line agreement to put it back. He's like, I'm losing 2.5 acres. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, Travis. That road's been there since the beginning of time back in the 60s.
But that's illegal.
Yeah, well, that was illegal. We had to go get the state ombudsman and the new survey and fill out all these forms, and then he had to sign it and agree that the current fence line was property line, so that we
Yeah.
still had a roadway
I
back
agree,
to our.
we can stay
back
back
to our irrigation.
Just try to guide that conversation. So you had some,
So, on page 2, under the chair's duties, I thought we could add, coordinate with the support staff to provide an inclusive copy of each and every completed subdivision application, along with any additional documentation pertaining to the subject subdivision to the Planning Commission for their review. At the same time, this information is provided to the TRC for its initial review. This information should be emailed separately to each of the commissioners and should take place at the beginning of the first review cycle. And that's according to what our new subdivision ordinance states is supposed to happen. So I just think, I know it's already in our ordinance, but since the chair is the one really coordinating with the planning department, I think it's good to have that in here too, just so we're clear and consistent. And then on page 9, let's see. Page 9, F1 conflicts kind of with page 13, 7.4, where a little ways down it says, any member of the commission or staff, upon recognition by the chair, may direct any questions or comments to those speaking at the podium. I would take out upon recognition by the chair, because then if you go to page 13, and you look down under section 7, meeting order and decorum, number 4, it's talking about the commission can question any person appearing and, the chair of the planning commission shall have authority to do the following, and then it says question any person appearing and allow other members to question any such person. So usually every time we've had people come in, we all just have asked questions when we have a question of the applicant. I just don't know if we need to have that in there specifically. Also on page 12, 7E, it says, where it says, talking about a continuation of the item. So if we table something, then it says with or without a date. I'm pretty sure Brandon gave us the advice that we have to have a date if we're going to table something. We can't just say we're going to table it indefinitely. We have to give a date when we table something. I know he gave us that advice in previous meetings, and I think that's fair to the applicant. If we're going to table something, we need to give them an idea of when that's going to be tabled too.
Well, and with that new round of how we approve stuff, we have a time limit now, right? So yeah, we probably should have a date.
But I guess with how that works with the new process, does it need to be called out here, or just, like, they should understand that? Or do we need to give?
Well, I think
like,
we shall give them a date when this will be,
done in there?
I don't think, it's just a,
To be honest, on the new subdivision ordinance, I don't know that we're really gonna be tabling. We usually, by the time it comes to us, it's an approve or deny. But where we see conditional use permits and other things like that, that's more where this would apply. Like for instance, with the drug and alcohol treatment, we wanted to get some more information. We had to check with the state as far as licensing requirements, so we tabled that. And I think it's only fair that we give them a date that we're tabling it to, so they can't have to just wait indefinitely.
yeah, that's true.
And then there was a typo somewhere that I found.
But even if you give them a date, like
On
even if
page
you tell them
12.
at the next meeting, you can table it again.
Yeah, you can take with a
You can tell them,
conditional
"Hey, we're
use
gonna look
permit.
at this, yeah."
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not saying for sure you're gonna get an answer, but I just think it's fair. So, those were the only things, other than what I highlighted in yellow that I already sent to you guys. I don't know if you wanna talk through those or not, cause I know we already had this on a previous,
I guess we can
discuss it in there.
in there.
Okay.
And then decide.
You doing the pledge?
Sheldon, are you good for the pledge?
Good word.
How you doing?
And Amanda, how are you? Good. Make her some cool shots, some cool ladies.
Right? Maybe I'll build one in my wife for the front house and I'll move it back. Baby, I'll make it.
To the end of the fence.
That's right, nobody else keeps doing my job. It's teaching me how to turn the mic on and off.
Yeah, is that what it is? Between you and my wife.
She's probably more successful.
She's a good shot. She really is. Burned me up real good. Who's got a big full? Just east of you. Houses in there. Got a super cool spot. That big impact. That's, yeah.
My sister was trying to build, they sold their house back before that, and their interest rates hit.
Recording in progress.
It's not Grenadier Commanders and me. It starts with G. I'll be over to you.
I'd like to welcome everybody out to the Hooper City Planning Commission meeting for July 10th, 2025. We'll begin our meeting by having a pledge of allegiance led by Commissioner Greener and a prayer given by Commissioner Prince.
Everyone repeat with me. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our kind and loving Father in heaven, we humbly come before thee with gratitude in our hearts for all of our many blessings. So very thankful to live in the community that we do and to be able to gather together and discuss the needs of our city. We ask that would please help us to be in tune with those who are here tonight and who live in our community, and that we'll be able to make decisions based on truth and be able to have the power of discernment. We ask that would please help us to be mindful of others and to be able to be respectful. We're grateful for the freedoms and blessings that we enjoy in this country, and ask that would please help us to use those freedoms and blessings to bless the lives of others. We ask that would please bless all of those who are serving in our military and let them know of our gratitude for all that they do. We're grateful for this beautiful city that we live in, and we say these things humbly. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Thank you, Commissioner Greener, and thank you, Commissioner Prince. First item of business will be the approval of last meeting's minutes dated June 12th, 2025. Do we have any corrections? No current corrections. I'll accept a motion to approve those minutes.
I wasn't here, so.
I wasn't here either.
I'll make a motion to approve the planning commission meeting minutes dated June 12th, 2025.
We have a motion from Commissioner Widdowson. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Commissioner Greener. All in favor? Aye. Motion minutes are approved. Now on to our action items. The first action item is a discussion and motion of drafting an amended ordinance for oversized structures and ADUs. We discussed this in our work meeting earlier and went over kind of what we feel would be necessary to give residents a little bit more flexibility in what they're able to do in these structures. It was favorable. Any other comments that anybody would like to say?
So when we were talking about the adjustments to the oversized structure and also the ADUs, when we send a recommendation out, do we want to do that as two separate recommendations or just the one? Just boil it together.
I think we could send it up as one. The council is able to strike anything that we put in there, so if we send it as one, if they like part of it, they can keep it. If they like all of it, they can keep it. I don't think we necessarily need to have two separate ordinances drafted.
Okay.
I guess just for information, we were looking at increasing the size of oversized structures from 2,000 on the R1 to 5,000, and on R2 we're going from, was it 1,200?
We got R75.
R75 to 3,000, and then R2 to 2,500. And then the ADUs would be half of, we're looking at increasing to half the size of the structures in both the structure and just a freestanding ADU as well. So those same, the ADU would be 2,500 on a R1, 1,500 on a R3, and 1,250 on a R2.
I think it would be actually the R751 for the 1,500, because the R3s are 30 per lot.
Oh,
so
that's,
it's more
okay.
than
R75, sorry, yeah.
And then we want to make sure that there's only one ADU per parcel.
Per portion.
Well, I don't know, we gotta be careful because per parcel, we've got some people that have multiple parcels under the same landowner. I don't know if parcel's the right word, but whatever legal comes up with, it makes it so that,
Most homeowners that have two parcels, they won't have a primary structure on it, and so they can't do an ADU with
Okay.
primary.
okay, just want to make sure we're covered.
Michelle, you mentioned something, only one detached, so are we gonna allow one detached and maybe if they have a basement ADU as well, or would that work, or how, or I guess, do we want to address that
That's a good
situation?
question.
There's
I
a
mean,
lot of people in Hooper that have internal ADUs that rent the basement.
Do we even know about them?
No.
We want to,
We
because
want
it
to.
helps.
We want to incentivize them, because then again, that helps with our water income housing reporting. We've talked about this before on how to incentivize those that already have them to come forward and speak up that they have, but
What if we, because I'm not necessarily opposed to allowing them internally and having one outside, but I think we may need to address and just make sure that parking is addressed and that that doesn't become a problem. I mean, they already have no on-street parking for certain months out of the year, but if you have people living in the basement and then you've got people living in the backyard, I think that could get kind of chaotic if we're not careful how we do that. What do you guys think?
I agree that parking would be one issue that would need to be looked at. Could city staff, when they come in for the permit, look at that? Or does that need to come before us, I guess, would be my only,
I almost
Concern
think it
about-
might need to be ordinance-wise, just so city staff knows what to go off of.
we could make it a thing that they have to have 2 parking spaces per ADU.
Available in order to do it. I think that's fair. So maybe, I mean, if everybody's okay with that, we could add that as a recommendation when we send it up to the council. And then, I mean, you guys think it's okay to have one internally as well as one?
One detached, and, yeah.
I think so. I would think it's,
Yes, I mean, you guys may or may not know, but Bryce Wilcox tried to increase the
Yeah.
ADU size.
Yeah, we talked about it, and I think the council was kind of split on it, and they shot it down. But we were talking about by doing this and by increasing the size within those oversized structures of the ADU, that's gonna help us tick a box on our moderate income housing progress that we're supposed to report in August. And I think it will open up some opportunities for people that are having a hard time getting homes that have more than one kid right now, because 960 square feet is so small.
I agree, I like the idea of having bigger sizes for the different lots, I think that is good.
Can I just reiterate then, and then we'll get something drafted for the next one. So increased oversized structures, R1 5,000, R7 5 3,000, R2 2,500. Increase, or let's see, 1 DADU, or maximum of 1 DADU and 1 IADU per, detached and internal per, whatever we're gonna call it. We're calling this that term, I don't know, owner or resident, whatever, parcel or lot. And then the ADU lot will write up so that the ADU can be 50% of the, a maximum of 50% of the accessory structure, or 50% of the allowed accessory, so 50% of the maximum allowed accessory structure per zone. And then two dedicated parking spaces per ADU, per either ADU, IADU, or DADU, as approved by staff. Or planning commission, I suppose, because the ADUs are gonna come in for, conditional use permits still. At least that's what you guys wanted. So they could just be 2 dedicated spaces, verified and approved through a conditional use permit. Then you guys could kind of see, okay, where are you dedicating your parking slots in case I don't think you want to count ones right behind your garage, for instance, right after they on the side, or maybe they add 2 if they do it attached or something.
Yeah, I think it would have to make sense, so I think it's a good idea to have the commission look at it and just make
So
sure.
that'll be part of their CUP then, for the, to get the parking at least looked at, so. Okay.
And just to clarify, we're not changing the other things that are already in place as far as the owner of the property has to occupy either the ADU or the primary residence. And there was some, we're not requiring that just with the oversized structures, but with the ADUs, yes. And then there was supposed to be some verbiage in there, and I'm not sure if it's been added because we frequently see like the old ADU application when people have come in, but they were going to update that so that people are aware when they come in and apply for those requirements that they have to occupy one of those, and if they move, then they have to make the city aware so that we know and can still enforce that with whoever purchases that property. Do you know if that's in the new one that they're signing?
I swear it is.
Okay, we just haven't seen
But I
them.
did double check.
Okay.
I feel like we haven't had an ADU in quite some time, so
Are you
remember.
questioning our
filing system?
Hey, I'm not questioning.
It's me, I'll take all the blame, but yeah, I'll double check, but I'm
We
pretty sure.
probably should just get rid of that old copy. I think what's happened is we've updated on it.
There's so many.
There's so many iterations, we just use the old one and it comes through, so.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's a good point.
because
We
we usually
want
just
to
slap
make
that
sure
on.
we have it signed and filed that they've agreed to it, so. We'll make sure we just get one standardized one.
I think you guys do a great job. No complaints.
One thing to keep in mind as we think about parking, I know the governor, and I don't know how this applies to checking the box for like the moderate income housing, is that to reduce the requirement of the parking spaces for these ADUs. That's what he just came out in May at his press conference for the Build Here, kind of his housing initiative. So I don't know how that will affect the city on checking that box if we're still requiring those to have separate parking. I'm not saying that having that, but it might not check the box if we have that requirement, just so you might want to double check.
Do you know if that was just like an additional strategy, or is that a requirement that they, because when I checked, I didn't see that recently, but that doesn't mean it's not.
Yeah, I didn't see it. I just know that one of the incentives was to remove that. So I don't know if it's like an additional, hey, this is checking the box as well as having the
So we start with it, and then next year we take it back off, just check the box.
Well, we get to keep our same strategies each year. We just have to show the progress that we're making, but we can add additional strategies, and that will give us priority funding with like the road funds and things like that. Like if we wanted to go up to 5, that might move us up a little bit into getting some of those road funds, but we only have to have 3, but one of them is the ADUs, and so that's why we need to show some sort of progress, and I think this is going to help us do that. As far as the parking, I still think we have to be careful because we have to make sure that there's at least adequate parking there, you know, for what we're doing. So
I was just saying that's something to be aware of as we. So do we need a motion for you to draft that, Kim? So I will. Is there any other comments on those 2 things, or do you think we have a good handle?
I mean, I don't know how the city council is going to receive this. These structures are going up like 150% in size. I mean, are we giving leeway? Is the city council going to be able to reduce that number, or is this like a yes or no type of thing?
I think they can look at it and change it. You know, if they don't like what we're sending up, I think they can change it because we're just recommending it. And so if they don't,
I mean, I just think that's a huge jump. You're going from a 2,000 square foot structure to 5,000 with. Because one thing I do like about how we have it now with the notification going out to neighbors to kind of know that something's coming in.
that's true. That's a good point.
So to
Just,
go from 2,000 to 5,000, like a 5,000 square foot, not everybody's going to take something that big. That's probably $500,000 to build something like that. But
it's hard to because I don't know that we really can say anything to them not to do it as long as it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, because if they have an acre, most of them.
yeah, and I mean, and we've approved all of them. I'm just saying that it doesn't give the neighbors a chance to like be notified of it ahead of time.
Are they notified now?
Yeah. Yeah,
Like
they pay
conditional use?
$1. Yeah, they pay
Within
$1.
600 feet.
So say if I pull the conditional use permit, I would pay $1 for that notice to be sent to my neighbors within 600 feet
Oh,
around.
I thought it was just subdivision.
So other than, I'm trying to think like when people have come in when they've complained about these, because I know usually what it is it's blocking my view,
Yep.
and we can't do anything about that. But can you think of a reason why this would be something we wouldn't approve even if it was that big? I'm just trying to think like.
I don't think there's like an ordinance reason. I think it's most people just like a preference reason that you would. What side are you going to side with? Well, you own your property and you can build what you want on it, or I'm your neighbor and I have some rights to it. It's like a.
Well, I just think the middle ground is I'm letting my neighbors know. You know what I mean? So, but I'm okay to send it up like this. I just feel like it's more than I was expecting, but I'm okay with it. Because like if somebody came in and wanted a 5,000 square foot, I'm like, man, do it. I'd build it if I could afford it.
I think that's what we talked about too. Not a lot of people are going to be able to afford it probably, so we probably won't see very many of them. But I mean, when I think about the 2,500 square foot
structure, just an oversized structure or something like that, that doesn't seem like that big a deal. But for some reason, my brain was like, well, a detached ADU that's 2,500 square feet, that's like another house back there.
We still have our height requirement though, right?
Yes, 25, unless it's agricultural.
Well, I mean, my house footprint, not including my garage, but my house footprint's 2,500 square feet.
Yeah, but
And it's not a small house, you know, so. But it's big, but, I mean, it is nice because it does open a possibility for people to be able to have, because right now, a 960 square foot, that's like a one bedroom. It's really hard to get.
Well,
rid
and
of those.
especially where they're gonna be, like we talked about most of the time, I think they're gonna rent these to people they know or to family, so it will help people get in, because they're not gonna have to, like, pay for the lot to build a house that size, and so hopefully it will help with people that can't afford to build a house right now.
Well, the other piece around this too is when we talk about when we're sending this up to the council and they're gonna wanna know why. You know, Malcolm showed us why we're even looking at this, right? When you look at the amount of conditional use permits that were requested, none of them were denied. Most of them already fell underneath these new requirements anyway. So it's freeing up applicant time, it's freeing up city time, you know, and it's kind of taking some of those headways out of the way.
And I think most of the people that have come in for, because we have an R1 zone, but that can be an acre or 10 acres. And so most of the buildings I think that we've seen that have been larger like that have been on quite a bit of acreage. I don't see somebody putting in a 5,000 square or a 2,500 square foot ADU or a 5,000 square foot oversized structure on an acre necessarily. They could. I mean, yeah.
Any other comments?
If we're worried about neighbors being notified, do we just say if it's over 2,500 square feet, neighbors within 600 feet need to be notified?
I don't know, I think if we're gonna do a conditional use permit, that triggers the notification, right? But if it's
All the
within
ADUs are still gonna need it, no matter the
Yeah.
size of the ADU, but I think generally that's not gonna happen because it's that application for the CUP that triggers that 600 foot thing.
And I don't know if we can require that if they don't need a conditional use permit. They're not coming to us anyway, because they wouldn't have really a forum to come in and express their concerns.
Under the square footage, like we don't notify them if they're under that square footage, they just go straight to the building permit site, submit their plans and wait for approval, so.
Who knows, maybe the council tells we're up in the night, lower it.
Yeah, like I said, as long as we're giving them the option to, I just don't want to send it up there with an ask so big that they say no. But if they say, okay, we like where you're going with this, and they peel it back a little bit, because they have that ability, then that's great.
All right, I'll entertain a motion on the drafting of an oversized structure increase along with ADU.
I'll motion that we recommend a revision of our ordinance to show that we are increasing the allowable square footage on an oversized structure in an R1 zone to 5,000 square feet, an R75 zone to 3,000 square feet, and in an R2 zone to 2,500 square feet. As far as ADUs that are contained within those oversized structures, it will be increased to a maximum of 50% of what the accessory structure square footage is. And as far as detached ADUs, we would be allowing in an R1 the maximum of a 2,500 square foot structure, in an R75 a 1,500 square foot structure, in an R2 a 1,250 square foot structure. And we would also have the contingency that there would only be one ADU allowed per property, and that we would need to have a recommendation put in place as far as what the parking requirements are so that we don't have an issue with that down the road. I get it all? Okay.
Do you want to add the internal ADU?
I thought I said that.
So one
detached.
Oh, gotcha. Only one internal and one detached ADU per property.
So you can
We have a motion from Commissioner Prince to revise the oversized structure based off of her comments, as well as the ADU, as well. That was a long motion, but did staff get it? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Commissioner Greeter. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, next item of business is to discussion motion on a policy and procedure document that has been for the actual planning commission we've been working on. This commission has been working on and previous commissions have been working on as well. So I'll now open up that to discussion at this time for comments on that document.
Do you want me to go through those highlighted portions so we can talk about them? Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, so I had emailed this document a few weeks ago, and it's the same document actually we had back in December that we're looking at, but I made a couple of revisions. This was compiled using the policies and procedures and bylaws for the planning commissions from multiple cities that I pulled this from. So on the first page, those numbers or those letters, are highlighted only because in the first document, I don't know why, but it messed that up. So nothing really changed on that first page. On page 2, under organization, the last sentence in there is highlighted to be added. Nominees for chair of the commission must have already served on the commission for at least 1 year prior to being nominated. Also under the chair's duties, coordinate with the support staff to provide an inclusive copy of each and every completed subdivision application, along with any additional documentation pertaining to the subject subdivision to the planning commission for their review. At the same time, this information is provided to the TRC for its initial review. This information should be emailed separately to each of the commissioners and should take place at the beginning of the first review cycle. We talked about it a little bit in work meeting. This supports what's in our subdivision ordinance that we just barely revised. And I know we've talked about before, we need to have some sort of checklist in place. I don't know if staff has already worked on that, but so that we can look at that when the applicants come in, and the planning commission can also see when you send this out in the first review cycle, whether or not we have a complete application. Because the ordinance says staff determines, but then the commission can look at it and say, no, we still need this before that time starts ticking. And then down at the bottom, under item L, no more than, it said 2 before, we've now changed that, no more than 3 commission members should gather on any such assignment, blah, blah, blah. That's because we've increased our commission to 7 instead of 5, so we need to change that to 3 because it's talking about having a quorum. If there's any discussion on any of this, just stop me, I'm just going through. Page 3, under support staff, this would be under item B. After the sentence that begins, order of the business on the agenda shall be as specified by the chair and or city planner. The sentence would be added, items may be added to the agenda by support staff or by 2 members of the commission.
Hey Amanda.
Sure.
I do have a question on that, and I apologize because I just received this tonight, but is there a time frame on it later on how much notice they need to give before they add things to an agenda, so it's not like a last minute thing like, hey, tonight we're going to be discussing this?
I know in here it talks about us getting the agenda and the packet at least 4 business days in advance if we can. I don't know if it specifically says in here, because there's a lot, if there is a time frame on when items could be added to the agenda, but I think that's really smart to put that in there so that you guys aren't scrambling. Like if we want to have something, it needs to be in enough time that you guys can get it prepared and we can get it out to the commissioners in order to look at it. So if we're saying we want our agenda sent out 4 business days before, what would be fair to you guys?
Yeah, so with council, so I try to do the week prior, so the Thursday prior to today's meeting. We do ask council if they have anything that they want to have put on the agenda, or with that, if they have like attachments with it, like that Monday or Tuesday.
So if we said maybe 6 business days before our meeting So maybe if we add items added to the agenda by the commission must be added at least 6 business days prior to the meeting.
Well, if that's business days, that means it has to be to her by Friday after she releases it. So it's either calendar days or business
So
days.
we meet on Thursdays.
But they're not here on Friday.
So should we say by the Monday before, the Monday prior? I mean, is that give you, the thing is, if you have the goal of sending the agenda out like the previous Thursday,
Say,
You wanna
the
say-
Monday prior to the meeting.
the Monday prior to the meeting. Okay. So items added to the agenda by the commission must be received by close of day on Monday, the Monday.
And there is circumstances where there's emergencies, and like we can always review those in that situation, but
But it wouldn't be the Monday prior to the meeting. It would be the Monday,
yeah.
2 Mondays prior
Mondays prior.
to the meeting, right?
I guess you could do 10 calendar days. Make it consistent.
10 calendar days.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. It sounds
That way it's
better.
more. Okay.
Let's put, should we say must be added 10 calendar days, other than special exceptions approved by staff?
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds good.
So item C that was added, the support staff will prepare a staff memo to be distributed to the commission with their agenda packet with adequate time for thorough review by the commission. The staff memo will include a list of conditions needed for the approval of the application, as well as staff comments and recommendations pertaining to the list of conditions and whether they have been adequately satisfied or are still lacking according to city staff, engineering, public works, city planner, etc. If such a staff memo is not included in the commission packet, the commission may vote by majority to table the applicable application. So, in the past, we've always had a memo in there from the staff saying, we're concerned about these things, or these things have been taken care of. That's really helpful to the commission because we can't really make a decision if we don't know what's going on. Sometimes we won't find out until that night. I think with subdivisions, it's going to be taken care of because we will be part of that process from the first review cycle. That's what that other part was. But like for conditional use permits or anything like that, anything involving like if they filled out the complete application and met those requirements, if we can find out about that before
like
we
that little
actually.
sections like safety, trap, like those things.
Yeah, those kinds of things are like, for instance, you know, when we had the daycare, not the one that came last time, but before there were some requirements that our ordinance requires that we didn't know, or when we had the guy that wanted to put in the pool house, there were just certain things that maybe staff could catch up front, so they don't come to the meeting and be frustrated because we asked them those questions and we didn't know ahead of time.
For sure.
So, and then on item E, there will be 7 voting members on the planning commission. Used to say 5. Under item A, number 1, I did not highlight this, but I don't know that we really care about that, where it says commission members shall be addressed as commissioner or Mr. or Miss on their last name. Like, I don't know that we want to get that particular. That was just in one of the ordinances, so when I was copying stuff over, that came over, and I don't know how you guys feel. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, it's a little bit more professional, but I don't know that we want to say that's a requirement. What do you guys think?
I think it's helpful during, sorry I'm talking so much. I think it's helpful during like motions when you guys repeat who said what, just so that also they are
Okay.
aware.
So instead of saying like Sheldon did this, we'll say
I would say
Commissioner Greener. Okay. And then under attendance, added, a member may be removed from office by an affirmative vote of the majority of the city council, subject to Hooper City Code 10.5B2.
Do you want to make that a unanimous vote, or I guess?
I think this is actually what our code says. I just took it straight from there. Like if you look at Hooper City Code 10.
Well, I looked at it, and it doesn't really, it just says a
Doesn't it?
vote. It doesn't specify. That's my line. That's because I went to look, well, what is the voting process?
I think city council would have to, that would have to be,
To pass.
yeah. So, I don't know what, I think the way that it's set up right now in the ordinance, I'm pretty sure it says somewhere in there that unless otherwise specified, a majority vote of the city council. There's only certain instances where it has to be unanimous, and that's usually rare. And I think I just highlighted number 5. Let's see here. Is it added? Let's see. The support staff will notify planning commission members of training opportunities and keep track of mandatory training requirements and fulfillment of requirements by members of the commission. And then I just added in accordance with state law. Number 6, the orientation and new member training will be completed within 60 calendar days of appointment and reported to the commission chair. And then at the bottom of E, if a commissioner has a potential conflict of interest, that person shall not participate in the discussion and voting on that matter, nor attempt to use his or her influence with other commissioners before, during, or after the meeting. That was in there already, but then it was added until a determination of a conflict of interest has been decided on by the commission. And then a commissioner who has a conflict of interest shall leave the dais. It used to say leave the room. I don't think we need to have people like leave the room, but if we're voting on something that involves them, that they have a conflict with, then they can take a seat down there so that they're not part of the discussion and the vote.
So just to clarify on that section of conflict of interest, it's only the commissioner that feels that they do. So like I can't say, oh, I think Travis has a
you
conflict.
can. I think if you read in that,
It says a member of the planning commission who feels he or she or any other member may have a conflict. Okay, so you could be called out by
Yes.
other members,
Yeah.
and then there would be a
and then
vote.
we would vote to see if that's really a conflict. You know, we said, well, Jace's second cousin wants removed who worked at the store with someone else.
Right.
You know, let's get him out of here. Okay. Same thing on number 6 or page 6 under number 5. Just changed from being removed from the commission chamber, just to going to sit down. Number 7, F3 down at the bottom. When a member becomes incapacitated for office permanently or for what appears likely to be a protracted period, or moves from the jurisdiction or becomes for any other reason no longer qualified for office and fails to resign, the chair shall cause any necessary investigation to be made and shall present the facts to the mayor, who may declare to the city council the office vacant and appoint a replacement with the advice and consent of the city council, subject to Hooper City Code 105B, as well as any other applicable state and city codes. Just want to make sure that we're actually following what the code says. So, and then under terms of office, number 1, let's see, all terms for members of the planning commission should be 4 years until their successors are appointed and qualified by completing mandatory training and orientation. Exceptions to a 4-year term may apply where appointment to a shorter term is necessary to fill a prematurely vacated position. And then we added, or where a staggering of terms is necessary as set forth by the city council, like what we just went through. Standing members may be appointed to serve additional terms when they have expressed a desire to do so and are recommended by the mayor and or city council and voted upon by the city council. And then number 9, we talked about this in the meeting before. In F, under any member of the commission or staff upon recognition by the chair may direct any questions or comments to those speaking at the podium. That conflicting with what's on page 13. Under 7.3, number 4, question any person appearing and allow other members to question any such person. When the chair runs the meeting anyway, they usually open it up and say, okay, we're going to bring it back to the council for questions, or the applicant comes up and that's just something that happens, and those two things kind of conflicted, so I thought we could just strike that. What page did we get to? Okay, 9. Under item G1, changing 3 to 4, again, because we're now a 7-member commission. Page 10, order of business. The order of business at the regular meeting shall follow the noticed agenda. The chair, with the consent of the commission by a majority vote, or upon recommendation of the support staff with a majority vote of the commission, may consider matters out of the agenda order. We've had that happen a couple times. We've got like we had the drug and alcohol treatment thing, and we knew that was going to be like a 3-hour meeting where we've voted on it and we've moved other people up ahead of them so that they're not waiting forever. Number 11, regular meeting procedure. So this is the order of business. When you get down to number 2, Pledge of Allegiance, that will be done by invitation of the chair at or prior to the meeting. And the reverence will be done by invitation of the chair at or prior to the meeting. I know we brought this up. I brought it up before. I'm very uncomfortable with the idea of forcing somebody to say a prayer publicly. I believe that we have the right to worship how we are supposed to. That's a constitutional right. Some people don't want to say a prayer. And it's always been, as long as I've been on the planning commission, that was done by invitation and acceptance of the person asked. So that would stop that from happening where it's just being, somebody's name is put on there without checking with them first. Number 12, or page 12, excuse me, under item E. Let's see, where it says, talking about a continuation, which is the same thing as tabling an item. Continuation of the item with or without a date, we would take out without, because I think, like we discussed in our work meeting, we need to let people know if we're going to table it, how long we're tabling it to. And then, as you go further down, it's talking about electronic meetings. No more than 3 members of the commission may attend by electronic meeting or by electronic connection. A commission member desiring to attend by electronic connection, and we changed it to shall make their best attempt to notify the chair and support staff at least 1 business day prior to the meeting. I think there's times where, like last month for me, I had planned on attending electronically, but because of the situations I had going on with my husband, that was not a possibility when it came down to it. And so sometimes there will be situations where we can't give a full day notice, but and then there was a typo on participating. I think I was supposed to be participate in that same, just down a sentence. And then agenda for the meetings under item A, number 1, adding items may be added to the agenda by the support staff or by 2 members of the commission. The order of petitions, applications, and public hearings is what that was changed to instead of the order of business on the agenda, shall be as specified by the chair and or city planner. And then down at the bottom, and I know Blake brought this up where we discussed this back in December, I don't know if we want this or not. No agenda shall have more than 10 items in any combination unless approved by a majority vote of the commission. Is 10 too many, or what do you guys think? I know you said before, do we really want that many on there, but that's what the council does.
I can't remember
What is the max that we have seen be requested to be on there?
I would say council does sometimes reach that 10. I say with you guys, as of right now, there's not a whole lot of construction happening, and so the ADUs aren't coming through anymore. So I think, and even if this new ordinance passes, like you guys, I don't think we'll ever reach
10.
hardly ever 10 items unless there's
I'd say just,
something happening.
Leave it.
we can leave it on there, or we can take it off and amend it after.
Okay. Request to be on a planning commission agenda shall be filed by the applicant. This is down under B, number 1, 28 days prior to consideration by the planning commission. And then it specifies request to be on the planning commission agenda for 1 and 2 family subdivision applications will follow the process laid out in Title 10, Chapter 8, because we don't want to mess with that. I know we have certain really rigid guidelines or requirements that we have to follow with that. So this would just be for something that isn't a 1 or 2 lot, or 1 or 2 family subdivision, excuse me. And then under cancellation, if no business is scheduled before the commission, or it is apparent that a quorum of the commission will not be available, any meeting, regular, special, work, hearing, etc., may be canceled by the chair or support staff by giving notice to all commission members and the mayor before noon on the day of such meeting, or as soon as they are made aware of the lack of commission members able to attend, because he's not gonna be able to do that if he finds out at 3 o'clock, we're not gonna have enough. And then, under number 7, the chair of the planning commission shall have authority to do the following, down to number 3, set reasonable time limits for individual public input, oral presentations, questions, and rebuttal information, if not already outlined in these policies and procedures, and if approved by a majority of the commission. Because I know we've had, like when we had the Smiths thing on and we had public comment, or actually it was in the water well, we were gonna go to like 8:30 or something, and so, but we did that by a vote of the commission. And then, let's see, under number 5, weigh at his or her discretion the application of any rule herein where the circumstances of the hearing indicate that it would be expedient and proper to do so, provided that such waiver does not act to prejudice or deny any party his or her substantial rights as provided herein or otherwise by law. We just added if approved by a majority of the commission. And then we took out time limits because we talked about that back in December. That's on page 14. It was item B before. We just struck that. And that's everything that's in there. So
Was the
and I-
time limit as like the meeting time?
I think so. I think we were going to say, let me see here. I'm pretty sure. The chair may impose equitable time limits if deemed necessary for the expeditious conduct of the public hearing.
So I think the citizen comment time requirement would still be in effect.
And I think we put in here somewhere that the goal was to end our meeting by 9 o'clock or 9:30. It's somewhere in here. That was one of the things that was changed after.
It's in page 9, begin at 7 with the goal of ending by 9 p.m.
Yeah. So I think we did that because we were like, well, we don't want to make it so people can't get seen.
We gave somebody an hour and then the last person only get.
Yeah, after they set their whole time. So I think that's why we did that.
I do like that there's a little bit of play in the time, because in the work meeting, Commissioner Larson was talking about the time limits, right? If we have a meeting where we know there's gonna be 20 people that wanna get up, then time limits are necessary. But like, when you look at our last meeting we had, and that young lady came in and wanted to present her preschool, right? And that definitely took more than 3 minutes, but I think something like that's okay. So I like having that discretion to be able to allow people over that time if you or we feel it's necessary.
Well, and public comment is limited to 3 minutes, but when you have an applicant come in, we've set that time 10 minutes in here. And then we can vote. If people need more time, we can vote and say, yeah, let's go ahead and give them it. If Jay says, is the commission okay with us doing that, then.
So on the citizen comment, as they go back and forth, like they have 3 minutes to make their comment, but if we have additional questions, that doesn't count as their 3 minutes, correct? They can answer those.
Well, and I think
Not
what we.
supposed to kind of.
Go back and forth.
So citizen comment is just they come, say their comment, and we say thank you.
Well, and we can.
Say we can address it, we can discuss it, we can contact you, whatever. I get there's situations where there is that communication back and forth, but.
And I think it depends on what the situation is. Like, we've had meetings where, like the one meeting we had for Smiths, there were a lot of questions, and some of them could be answered by the developer, and some of them had to be answered by the commission. And I think
there was plenty of times when Travis was on the audience and he would ask questions and we'd be like, that's a great question. And turn to whoever and say, what's the answer? So, I like the back and forth. And like Jason, I don't count it against their time.
Yeah, well, and I think too, it says in here, like, let's say we have somebody that comes in and they want to put in a subdivision, and then it's a public hearing, so people get up and they ask questions. We can then let the applicant come back up and address those questions. So that's kind of
informative. I think it's very helpful. If
Yeah.
it's just argumentative, I think it's very.
And I think there's a fine line what we ran into last week with what is a legal matter and what we can do as a body legally. Like some of those things are, thank you for the comment, you'll have to address that outside of this. But this just takes some nuance to that.
I agree. I think we get a lot of those sometimes. People just don't really understand the process. And so they come to us, and it's something that isn't in our wheelhouse. And so we just have to listen and thank them, and then, sorry, you're going to have to talk to city staff or the city council. But I think it's important to let people be heard. We have public comments for items not on the agenda unless it's a public hearing. And so you know, sometimes we just listen. And we can't do anything about it, but.
I guess going back to that, because I've never, I just realized what Commissioner Larson was saying. Just on like that citizen comment saying no action can or will be taken on any issue presented. Like I wonder if I should put at this time. That way they're not thinking it's never going to be addressed ever.
Or maybe just say at this meeting.
That's a,
Why does it say that?
just no action can or will not be taken.
Yeah.
Because
Honestly,
if it's not posted, we can't address it.
You can't make any official decision unless it's been noticed to the public.
So then why is it even a question that we would talk to them if we say, sorry, there's no action can or will be taken? Why they can state what they need to state? Why do we need to have a back and forth? We're either going to have it or we're not.
Sometimes they just bring to our attention maybe an issue with something, but it's not something we can necessarily vote on in that meeting. But we can still give them direction. Like an official action would mean a vote where we made an official vote and we changed something. But sometimes there's people that have come in and they just have a question and they like, what do I need to do if I need a conditional use permit for this? And really, they could have gone probably to the staff, but sometimes they'll come to us and we just give them some direction. But it's not considered an official action unless we have an actual vote and change an ordinance or change something like that. So.
And I understand that the last meeting, to me, the control was lost at the meeting. And people from Giannis got up and made comments, and then somebody else from the audience got up and made a comment about that comment, and we totally lost control.
It's got to be, and I'm not pointing the finger at Jace, but the chair has to maintain order of the meeting, and so you may just have to say, no, I'm sorry, there's no back and forth. Sometimes at the beginning of the meetings, you may want to say, I just want to explain how this process works, and there's not going to be back and forth, and you can't only, and it says in here, they can only come up to the microphone one time on that particular subject that they're talking about. Because you'll see, especially in some of the more heated meetings, we will have people come up multiple times, and they're like, well, I'll take my 3 minutes now, and then I'm going to come back up and I'm going to give my 3 minutes to my wife. And so it's just a matter of kind of explaining to them how the process works up front, and then enforcing it.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's important that we read during or before we start citizen comments that's read. No action can be taken. I think it's important that that's stated before the citizens' comments. We're not. We
can't make action. We can't take action on your comments. Yeah, that would alleviate a lot of issues. I think.
Any other comments on the policy and procedures that anybody wants to address?
I know something that has come up in the council meetings when they're talking about citizen comment is, you know, if you look under number 5 on here, residents attending this meeting will be allotted 3 minutes to express a concern about any issue that, and in capital letters, is not on the agenda. Yeah. And I don't know how I feel about that. Because, look, I think it's somebody's right to be able to speak about whatever they want to speak about. Even if we cannot take action on it, I don't think we should be limiting anybody to not comment on items that are on here.
I agree with that. I know the council they've moved their public comment up on the agenda. I think, this is just my thoughts, but if it's something on the agenda that requires a public hearing, we have a public hearing as far as what the commission sees. And most people are able to get up and say what they would like to say. But as far as the comments, other comments, I'm fine with leaving them where they're at, but taking off the part that they can't comment on agenda items. Because I agree with you, I don't think we should be stifling their free speech. If they want, they can say whatever they want. It's not gonna, just like Jean said, we're not taking an official action on what they're saying, but if they want to comment on something that happened in the meeting, I don't see why they should be kept from saying what they want to, as long as it's respectful and they get their 3 minutes. So.
Yeah. Well, I think it was on there because votes have already been made on this stuff on the agenda item, and that turns into people coming up and complaining about the votes that happened. And with us, a lot of times our stuff is public comment. So it's like we hear their view and then we vote, and then we're done, and they want to give their 2 cents about how they don't agree with what we did.
But I think that's okay. I think
I'm
that's
not
their
saying
right.
it's
I
not
think that's
okay.
their right to be able to get up and tell us they think we did a bad job. Yeah,
I
they
mean,
think we
they,
got it
they
wrong.
can tell me after the meeting too, that's fine.
True, but sometimes they want it on the record. That
It's hard because I know in this document it says something about,
But didn't they have a chance to
Redundant.
get on the record like earlier?
I'm just thinking more like, think about the well or the Smiths or something, if we had 50 people in here and they all got up and used their 3 minutes.
and then they get up
Didn't
again.
like it, and we had 20 people given 3 minutes. You know, it's,
Somewhere on here it says, and it has to do with like redundancy, like if you're gonna, and maybe we need to add that, maybe the chair can say.
I would be okay with that as long as it, like, you can talk about agenda items as long as it's not something you already said. Or, you know, or something along those lines.
Because it's again like getting up every 3 minutes, we've said, based on that subject, like, give them a voice, give them a chance to say, but we don't wanna be here till
no,
midnight.
but the chair can also stop that.
Yeah.
Hey, we're in ground we've already covered, and you've told us what you
Yeah.
think. So
But can't they, when it's open, when we open it up for discussion, can't they come up then and say that? Why would they wait till after we have public comment?
Just to
Well,
tell
that's
us
what I'm
we
saying,
did a
is
bad
that
job.
they
That's
might
what
do both, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I guess we could, and I guess legally, what can you do? Well, you have freedom to you can say what you want. What are we going to do? Because somebody's going to remove them if they start talking about something that's on the agenda.
I think that, again, it's, unfortunately, it's gonna fall on, I'm gonna say Commissioner McCormick,
We're gonna have
instead of
council
Chase,
down there and
to
look
say, I'm
at all
sorry,
that.
you know, this is something that we've already discussed, and we're only taking comment on things that haven't already been, I don't know.
I don't know, maybe we clarify it prior to the public comments, is that now is the time to comment about this agenda item, and there will be, and I believe we say that, don't you, Jay, sort of that the time for public comment is over, and I guess if somebody wants to come up, how are we gonna enforce that?
Well, maybe if you just say at the end, when we get to that comment, say, you know, now's the time that you can come up and make comments again to the commission, but if this is something that you've already spoken to tonight, we ask that you allow this time for other people to be heard, that maybe haven't had a choice or a chance to hear their stuff.
So tonight's agenda is a prime example. So if any of our hundreds of wonderful audience members wanted to come up and speak about this, they couldn't talk about what we're talking about right now, according to the rules on this agenda.
Right, and I don't like that either.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there
What if
could,
they did, what could we do?
where we haven't actually voted on it.
We have no
yet.
teeth.
Good point. Yeah.
No teeth.
But,
Well, I mean, I've seen that happen in city council meetings, and the mayor will say, that was on the agenda, sorry, she'll kind of cut them off, and, I mean, nicely. And for the most part, people, you know, they oblige to it, so.
but I agree completely with what Travis is saying, because the things we had on our agenda tonight, we had no public hearing on. And so, maybe one of these individuals may have had a thought that, you know, when you guys talked about this, you didn't think of this. And they came up and they told us, technically, if Jace wanted to, he could reopen that, and we could re-vote on, well, whoever, there's a stipulation, it's like whoever made the vote, and I don't know if we have that in here, if it's just in the councils, but whoever made the vote could, made the motion, could reopen that, and maybe we could amend the motion. And so, I can see where it's, if there's something on here that we didn't have an opportunity to have a public hearing, I mean, the people come, and if maybe they picked up on something that we didn't, that we might want to add to this document, I can see the benefit of having that. And if we say you can't comment on it because it's on the agenda, you're taking that away from them and us. So, I don't know. I still think it could be remedied if Jace just says, before that happens. If it's already something you brought up to us, we ask that you let people talk about the other things that need to be discussed.
Yeah, but maybe it's like your kids, you have to hear it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think they deserve the right to say whatever they want, but
I'm
like
okay
Gene
with it.
said, we can't act on it anyway, so let them vent.
But we can act on these things that are on here tonight,
Yeah.
and we didn't have the public, and we didn't have them comment on it, so I think it's valid to give them an opportunity to do that. I would just take off the line that says it's not on the agenda. And then let the chair control.
Do you wanna do that starting next meeting, or do you want that? I guess you can always put it part of the procedures too, but I guess even going forward, I mean, it's as easy as an agenda.
I'll just take it off for next meeting, that's fine.
And then, so, to my knowledge, this document, I don't know that this needs to go to the city council because this is this body's governing document. And it states in there, if there's anything in here that's contrary to our city and city ordinances and state laws, then the council would need to approve it. But I don't think there's anything contrary in here at the time, right now. If there was any issues that came up, if you guys noticed, I don't know if you noticed anything that was contrary to our city ordinances, but we should be able to just make the motion and approve this tonight, so beginning, making it effective now, going forward, this is the process we're gonna follow.
Well, another comment I have, a couple of times we referenced like the city code and some stuff in like, where was it? Like in the training and like the conflict of interest and things like where it references are like the gifts and favors where it references state code, like, do we just need to state something that at the beginning that says like, you're bound by all state laws, and then we don't need to address those? I'm just, the length of it is, I'm just looking for ways to minimize it a little bit. Whereas those things, we are already under oath to follow anyways. Do we need to call them, I guess, do we need to call them out specifically again?
I don't think it hurts to just take the time and say, does anybody here have a conflict of interest on anything on the agenda tonight? I doubt that's hardly ever going to, I don't think it's hardly ever going to happen, but I think it's okay.
Oh, not that, I'm just saying like in the actual document, we know like the conflict of interest and all that, that's like a state statute that was kind of, right, like, as I read that, it was based off that state statute code, right?
I think part of it probably was, I would have to go back and look, because like I said, I pulled these from various cities on what their policies and procedures
And I just know the gifts and favors one calls out that state statute as well, so I'm just saying if we're already bound by those anyways, do we need to specifically call them out in the document?
I don't think it would hurt to put them in there, because I mean, you're not having to read through all of that during the meeting, so just having it in there, so if any of us question, and we can look at that and say, okay, this falls under those parameters, so we need to be careful.
I don't have any.
I was slow to pull this up because of the generation I was born in, so I don't know that I heard the first page. But on or second page, first and second page, I guess. Second page in the highlights says nominees for chair of the commission must have already served on the commission for at least 1 year prior to being nominated. Is that did you touch on that?
I read that when we went through.
Okay, I missed it. I disagree with that. Anybody that lives in Hooper can be the mayor, be on city council, run for city council, run for the mayor, put their application and be on this commission. I don't know why we would make that kind of requirement that they need to be here for 1 year. I don't agree with it at all. I can be the mayor with 0 experience if I'm nominated.
But does that make you the best mayor?
Does it what?
Make you the best mayor?
If I'm nominated, absolutely.
If you're elected, that's the thing. There's a little bit of a difference. But
Pretty big difference.
You're questioning what?
I didn't question anything.
Oh, okay.
I was just correcting your verbiage.
Oh, what did I say wrong?
You said nominated to be mayor. You could get elected to be mayor.
Tomato, tomato.
Can I not be nominated?
I don't know if a nomination for mayor gets someone.
Okay. I didn't know you was the English professor, but I'll make sure and run it through you before I speak again. Would that be okay?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Don't hold your breath.
You're the one telling me you're going to do it, so I don't know. You're
So I guess we can be, so
sorry.
I think that you bring a valid point Gene in saying that it does restrict somebody's ability. It doesn't, we're saying they still have to be voted upon by the commission, which is a vote. I look at the other applicant that we just had, and his name passes me now, but he's served, he's worked with cities a lot and has a lot of experience, and so you're limiting, just by saying that you have to be on that, you're limiting the potential of somebody serving that is there already, and that's, I guess, it kind of goes to the same thing of, we don't want to tell them what they can and can't speak about. We don't want to tell people what they can and can't do either. If the city council found them competent to serve on the planning commission, I feel like they should, if they get somebody to nominate them and they get the votes of the council, then I feel like they should be able to serve in that capacity. So that's my thoughts on that as well. But it's, yeah, so that's what
Doesn't that say something about when you're appointed to the planning commission, you can't vote until you have your training done? Doesn't it already say that in there?
Yes, it does.
So that means you can't be the chair?
No, obviously there's some experience and requirements that are needed already.
Well, but they can vote the very first meeting as long as they've been sworn in, and then as long as they have their, what's the training, 6 months from when they were voted in?
No, they have to have an hour.
they have to do the cities and leagues hour training that they get a certificate for before they come to the first meeting.
That's what it currently is. I mean, I can see what you're saying because the commission would still have to be the ones that vote on who's going to serve as chair. I think the reason for putting that in, obviously, in my thinking, is if you're going to chair a meeting and serve in the capacity as chair, it's going to be more beneficial if you've had experience and you know the way that the commission works and you've been a part of that process, especially now with how our subdivisions are approved and the information. I mean, they're going to be part of that technical review committee. I know we've been over this before, but I think there's responsibilities that fall on that person's shoulders, that it would just make more sense if they had experience. But I can also see what you're saying, and the fact that this body would have to vote by majority to decide who's going to sit in that position, and if they didn't feel like they were qualified or as qualified as someone else, they could show that with their vote. So I can see either point.
Well, if the city council removed all of us and brought in a whole new planning commission, then nobody could be the chair based on this.
I don't see
You know
that.
what I mean? That's
For sure.
And if pigs flew, there's just, I don't see that happening, but I can see.
I think, I like the idea that, you know, you can become mayor and then get fed a fire hose and you start your service right off the bat. So why would we have to be a year on the commission before they can be a chair, I guess. I would agree with Gene on that one. I don't know how everybody else feels.
Again, I think, and I can only speak from my experience, but going to the meetings and the things that are involved when you are the chair, and then being able to disseminate that information, I feel like there's kind of been a lag with that this year, and that's been a little bit difficult. I don't feel like some of the subdivisions and things that have been applied for, we have not received any of that information, and so it's honestly, it's just something that I feel like is a safeguard to make sure that things are running smoothly. And if you were going to hire somebody to manage a business, then usually, not always, but usually that person has experience in that type of business and knows how to step into that role. That's not to say somebody couldn't. And so if the commission feels like it would be better to leave that off, I'm okay with that too, and we can express that with our vote.
to that time of appointing a chair or electing a chair.
So I like the thought process of why you put that in there. But I also agree, Commissioner Larson, that if we're in a situation where we don't feel like the nominee is the right person for the job, to me that points to a failure of the city council and mayor by putting the wrong people in place, if that makes any sense. So, yeah, I don't know if I like that in there. I would hope that the city council and mayor do their due diligence, and I know they've changed their process for selecting candidates for the commission now. Yeah, I agree with Commissioner Larson. I don't like that in there.
I think to a point, I understand what you're saying, but then we don't really know, right? Because you have somebody that's coming in brand new. Usually when somebody is appointed by the council, they come in the very first meeting. We've had no experience with them. We don't know how they're going to act. We don't know if they're going to... We are voting blindly. The commission would be voting blindly in that situation, for the most part, on who is going to be the chair. That person may be great, but we have no experience with them. Having them in there for a year would give us a little bit more peace of mind about who we're voting for to lead this body. And those are my thoughts.
But you also could reach out to that person and get to know them the month because they're sworn in, and then you have at least a week's time before that meeting to get to know that person to say, would I want this person as chair? Just to counter that argument of like, yes, you don't know how they act in all situations, and you would get to see that over the course of a year.
Someone could be my best friend, but that doesn't mean that I would have them perform surgery on me. That's all I'm saying. Like, I could know you and think you're a great person, but when it comes to being able to attend the meetings, get the information, disseminate that information, and run the body, that's a skill set. And not having, even if I had a conversation with you, that doesn't mean that I would be able to make that vote with any kind of education. That you could be a great person, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to fill that role.
So I appreciate that point of view. I absolutely do. But again, I lay that at the feet of the council, that they need to make sure that they're vetting candidates that meet the requirements, that anybody up here should be able to fulfill that role. And if they're not, I'm not sure if it states it in here, but if the chair or vice chair are not doing a great job, can they be removed from that position? Yeah, I guess they can by the city council. So that's a tough one. That's a tough line in there.
Yeah, we should, as voters, we should vet those who are running for city council and mayor the same way we were vetted. And I can run for mayor, I can run for city council. I have zero experience as a mayor, zero experience as a city council member, and be elected. Is the chair more important than that? What is it that we're afraid of? Those of us that have been appointed here, in my opinion, I agree with Commissioner Bates. Anybody could, if it could be the chair or the vice chair. If it's the chair that can only be a year, why not the vice chair? I don't see why we put some kind of stipulations as far as education or experience when those offices that we elect don't have any of those same criteria.
I think the same comments are being made back and forth. So I guess do you want to put this just a vote to decide if we should include it or not, or I guess what process do you guys want to follow to, I guess, resolve this? Because this seems like the one.
Amanda's already said she's okay with it coming off, so I think we just strike it and then go from there.
Okay. Then the only other thing I wouldn't, like, I'm a believer in term limits. I noticed, so I'm not opposed to putting a limitation on the chair being a new person every year, and if there's no takers, then they can re-up that. Like, I think that gives, good solution comes with good variety, and so, but I agree with term limits as well, as like, yeah, you could have somebody really great and you could have somebody really bad, and it's nice if there was term limits to kind of.
If we're sticking with the same argument that Commissioner Larson made, then we wouldn't put any stipulations. We would allow this body to vote on who we think should be. So if Jace does a great job this year and we feel comfortable with that, Mary Simpson served as chair for 9 years. Well, I don't think she was the chair for 9 years, but she served as chair for a long time. Those of us that served with her, yeah, we were comfortable with her. She did a great job, and I think if we're comfortable with the person serving, that they should be allowed to continue serving. That would be my thoughts. If we're not gonna restrict the vote on one side, I don't think we should restrict it on the other side.
Okay.
I'm okay with that.
All right, so we'll strike the nominated chair of the commission must already serve on the commission for at least 1 year prior to being nominated. Any other, I guess, items in there that we want to add or remove? I didn't see.
I'm good with the rest as it is.
I think it's good, and I think Commissioner Prince should be commended for putting this together. That's a lot of work.
Thank you.
All right, no other comments. I'll open for a motion to adopt the policy and procedures as presented with the additions and subtractions that we have discussed.
I'll make a motion that we adopt the policies and procedures with the amendments that we've discussed and agreed upon as presented by Commissioner Prince.
I'll second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Greener and a second from Commissioner Prince. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. At this time, we'll open up the meeting to citizen comment. If you'll please keep your comments to the allotted 3 minutes, and that you, just so that you know, we cannot take any action on what is at this meeting, can't take any action what is presented at this time. We'll open that time for any citizen comment.
Don't rush.
No, Morgan just asked me to come tonight to tell how great she is. If a lot of people showed up, but you guys all know her, so I don't have nothing to say.
I have a comment.
Please come to the microphone. And
Sorry.
I'm Shauna Ray, and I just have a question, I guess, and I don't know who to address this to. I guess I can just go to the office when they're there. But can somebody? They have a house. Can they let all their kids move in the house, and they live in their trailer half the time on the side of the road, in the road, and they live there for like maybe 6 weeks, and then they move, and then they come back, and they move. Yeah. So is that legal? Because you guys are talking about ADs and all that good stuff, and I'm thinking, can I let my child just drive their RV and just park it in my street for like 2 or 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks at a time? Is that, like, can we do that? Like, I don't know. So I'm just asking. Is that something I just need to take to the...
yeah,
That would be like a code enforcement thing. I'm not 100% sure on what that.
I would just take it to the city and they can address it.
I'm going to come talk to you. Thank you.
No other comments. We'll close citizen comment. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Real quick question, sorry.
Oh, quick one.
I got a little turnaround on the we'll get the parking in a reasonable situation to take it up.
Otherwise, we're a whole nother month.
Exactly.
Well, and I think in the past, when we've done something that has had significant changes or information on it, you guys have still sent it out to the commission so that we can look at it individually, so we're not talking as a quorum. And then if we notice something that was missed that we talked about, we can let you know so it's corrected before we send it up to the council. And I think that's probably the same thing for these policies and procedures. I'll get with you the document that I have with the things that are on there so that we make sure you guys have everything that we went over. So.
Commissioner Greener made a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Widdowson. All in favor?
Aye.